All right, welcome everyone. We're just starting a few minutes late here, but thanks for coming to this proposal presentation. So this presentation will be around how an OEM can actually look at developing and creating an OEM wallet. So building a wallet for your vehicle. We have Vamsi Petrovu will be giving the presentation and providing details. He'll kind of give a quick overview for about 20 minutes, and then we'll kind of open things up for questions and discussion, and then hopefully we can kind of carry that, gather those questions and that feedback, and we'll be continuing to provide information to about this proposal on the website wiki. Thank you. So without
Thank you, John. Is that good? Okay. Fantastic. Everyone's got some caffeine, I see. Just like to do a quick introduction. So I'm Vamsi Petrovu, co-founder of Mavi. So Mavi is a retail middleware platform that we are taking to OEMs. So one of the most interesting feature for OEMs in the connected space is how do you let drivers seamlessly order food on their way? And what Mavi does, I'll talk more about it. So Mavi does broadly 4 things really well. So number 1 is we do curated shopping. So when you're in your car, we understand the context of where you as a driver and the car is, and we make sure we give you offers that are on your way, relevant to you from a preferences standpoint and everything else. So curated shopping. And number 2 is seamless payments. So that's what we'll be zeroing in on more right now. But obviously, to enable commerce, we need some way for the driver to be able to seamlessly pay. So identity as well as payments, they kind of go hand in hand, and we'll talk more about that. So second one was payments. Third one is, the whole curbside orchestration. So we geofence a lot of locations, a lot in the US right now and expanding elsewhere as well. But beyond, once we geofence the locations, we are able to exactly tell the retailers what the ETA of the driver is and able to optimize their internal supply chains. So we do that really well. And of course, lastly, what Mavi does is understands from an intent standpoint where the driver is and improves and learns from that behavior. So what are we not? We are not a voice technology company. So we do partner with an Alexa or a Cerence or whoever it is, right? So we are not a navigation system. We partner with Mapbox. We work with Mapbox. We work with TomTom. We work with Google. So we are not a navigation company. We are obviously not Yelp. So while you're driving, we don't want to throw 500 different options at you. We want to be super curated and give you the options that you can transact on in a safe manner. And we are not delivery. So we are on my way commerce, experience, and recommendation engine. So one of the biggest things that we are taking to, as Mavi, we are taking to the OEMs is the experience of you want it, you find it, you buy it, get it, and give feedback, right? So as mentioned, we are not Yelp where we are giving you a whole bunch of POIs, but giving you super curated experiences from a UX standpoint. Okay, let's do a deep dive. Can we have a little bit of show of hands? Just want to understand the room a little bit. How many of you are technology partners? I know Starfish is here. So how about OEMs? So there are a couple of OEMs. Okay, great. So just want to make sure. Anyone else? Call-outs? Okay. All right, so if you look at the Mavi platform architecture, let's look at it top down. So when we talk to the OEMs typically have standardized stacks on either Android Automotive or their own platforms, but there is some way where there are existing applications like your navigation application or other media applications and system applications, which are OEM specific. So below that, what we have, through Mavi is the retail middleware layer that we are communicating. So Mavi, when we work with the OEM, the application itself is sort of integrated into the experiences. We are not an app, but you can go in and say, hey, Jeep, I'm hungry, and it will bring up the experience that you saw before. And it's communicating to our backend through our retail middleware APIs, which is giving context, content, and the transactions. So I'm not going to go into detail on too much of the context and content, but we are going to zero in right now as a part of this talk on the wallet itself. Okay, let's talk about, from what we are proposing over here really is how would an OEM specific wallet experience work? If you look at it, some of the, we just spoke about it in our panel a minute ago, the ecosystem of payments within the OEM space, there are a lot of different technology players in there, right? All the way from your identity to your PSPs in front of the retailers themselves, and wallet services like tokenization, token providers, and orchestration services, right? So one of the biggest things that we are seeing OEMs sort of grapple with is how do you orchestrate across hundreds of different retailers and provide a seamless experience for all of them? And how do you even get into that space of orchestration? So as a part of Mavi working with COVESA, what we want to bring up is a proposal for us to say, what will that orchestration layer look like? And how can we build that in partnership with a lot of you sitting over here, right? So as an example, when we take our opinionated stack to an OEM, we take with us for identity a solution that partners with Qualcomm, right? So they do the biometrics for us. We are not in the business of doing biometrics, but we do provide the framework by which the biometrics entity can be plugged in. And that's what we want to build out and in partnership with all of you at COVESA. So that's really the wallet services. And the second one is tokenization, right? So we don't want to be in the business of being the token provider. Mavi doesn't want to be in that business. But again, we want to build out the layer by which you can plug in a tokenization provider. So we sit in the commerce interfaces, right? So that's where we are. And the payment experiences, like you saw, in partnerships with the OEMs, we want to exactly define what those experiences look like and make it unique to each OEM's experiences. And of course, identity as well. So all of these areas, I think, can be carved out as their own proposals, but we will specifically be zeroing on wallet services today. All right. Of course, as we say, we're looking for collaborators in each of these areas. Okay, so I'm going to be spending a little bit of time on this slide. Is everyone able to see it, read it? Okay, so think of this as almost a reference architecture by which we can get started on this. And I want, all of you guys in partnership with all of you to be sort of fleshing it out and building on top of it. So if you really look at the driver, let's look at the players in here. So there is a driver, then there is the QSR app, right? So QSR app is a burger place that you want to get your burger from. Then there is the OEM wallet itself. So who holds the wallet? Where is your credit card living, right? Once you purchase a car, you've onboarded your credit card, where is that actually living? Then there is the concept of, okay, you've got your credit card. Now there are different app providers who expect to be merchants of record. In a lot of cases, Mavi is a merchant of record, but when we are partnering and we are creating that marketplace of retailers, in a lot of cases, we are not the merchant of record, right? We need to do that fan out to a bunch of these players. So yeah, you've got obviously the question of tokenization and how do you take these tokens and do the fan out to different APIs that the partners provide. Payment gateways, nothing much to add there. So then you have obviously the QSR payment service and payment gateways. They go hand in hand that actually need to get the token request and transform the request and decrypt the request itself. So let's go through the flow. So driver starts and says, hey, Jeep, I'm hungry. And through the experience, they are able to actually select their offer and say, okay, pay now, and say checkout, right? Once the checkout process starts, then the QSR app in this specific case is going to be Mavi. Let's take that as an example. And then the payment request actually goes back to the OEM wallet, right? So if you really look at it, the Mavi client or the client application that wraps the QSR app, the wallet, and the token service provider, all three of these things are what we are calling the broadly OEM wallet. And in partnership with COVESA, I think we can provide a reference implementation that each OEM can then take and flesh it out based on their needs. Let me know, please, any questions. We can dig into it right now or hold them off for later. Happy to keep this interactive. So once you do that, obviously, the OEM wallet is going to be kicking it back for request approvals, billing. That's where the identity services come into picture. So whether it is through facial recognition, voice, touch, whatever it is, with secure customer authentication, there are different requirements there in Europe versus US. So there are a lot of details that we can go into that specific area, but we'd like to be partnering with an identity company there versus building it out ourselves. So once you get the authorization, then the token request happens, right? So you have a merchant ID and the token request happens, and all of this, all the way from identity to tokenization, encryption, and de-tokenization, will happen within this reference architecture that we are proposing. So once the token is requested and encrypted, the payment request with the credit card authorization is sent all the way to the payment service through the gateway, and the transformation request and the decryption happens over there, right? Talking to the gateway. And then the payment response with the credit card authorization reply. So anyway, without going into too much of detail into this, broadly what I wanted to propose and bring in front of all of you is this model where we can develop a thin client for a QSR, right, or any application, the OEM wallet and a token service provider, build out an orchestration layer, and have different other providers, whether it be identities or other things, where you have a plug-in architecture, right? And John, please chime in over here. But that's the proposal of where we want to essentially come in and open it up for partnerships and for us to be building together. Yeah, that's about it. So I'll open it up for questions or leave it on the previous slides if you guys want to talk further.
So just to add some more details, so what the proposal will be about is around the wallet services, and building the basically a reference implementation of a wallet for the car to be implemented in any vehicle. Mavi is going to look at providing some of the commerce interfaces. That's what they do. They build those interactions with all the retailers. What we're looking for is additional collaborators in some of the other areas. So, what may be the payment experience within the vehicle, some of the biometric authentication. We think we have a PSP or a payment gateway that can provide some of the payment processing on the back end. We may have a OEM who's interested in providing kind of the support for the project overall. And so really the collaboration in this project is really to build that reference code for the wallet and then for everyone to be able to kind of understand and go through the process of actually developing this type of service in the vehicle. So any questions that someone might have about like this approach or what we're proposing here? Any questions? Softball?
No, actually, he knows me better than that. When I listen to a lot of these conversations that we're having at COVESA about payment architecture and startups and innovation, what I know from years of commerce and fintech is that you have two different worlds in commerce and fintech. One is, let's invent all of these cool new things, and the other is, we're a grown-up an industry that's enterprise ready, that's tested, that's secure, and that's safe, and a lot of times those things collide. So where in this payment architecture do we find a place where the OEMs who need to be worried about security and safety and standards and GDPR and all of those kinds of things come together with startups that are innovating, and how do we form a trust then to say, oh, you should totally be working with this 2-year-old company who just invented this thing? And how do we set that safety level?
Yeah, I think what we need to do from that perspective is actually draw on the fact that this, as much as you might be a newer startup, that you're leveraging technology that's been in place for the financial services and banking industry for quite some time.
Yeah.
You're leveraging on existing standards. You can reference those things. We can also look at bringing in qualified partners who are in the payment space, whether they're card brands or processors that actually can support basically the lower part of the iceberg. So you can kind of develop and create these solutions and understand that they're being built on top of known technologies, proven technologies. From there, we're not going to sugarcoat the compliance aspects or the security aspects or any of those other things that need to be done. Those need to be done. But the building part, I think what we want to show is the building part is actually not the hard part. It's all those other things. But that we know what those things are and provide not the project management, but the program development aspects of, okay, so now that we've built this wallet, what are the other things that need to occur? It needs to be marketed. It needs to be secured. We need to review the implementation. How do you actually go through things like PCI compliance and all the other aspects of running a payments business or a commerce business? Running a commerce business, the technology is only a small part of how to get customers to buy. And realizing that those are other groups and other parts of the business that need to get involved. It's not just development, meaning vehicle development, but it's now the business of being an automaker and actually being a mobility company.
Yeah, I agree. So OEMs don't want to be PCI compliant, as an example, right? We've been working with great partners like Harman at Ignite. They've spent a lot of time thinking about this problem, and one of the things that comes out is, hey, yeah, as an OEM, they don't want to be PCI compliant. They don't want to take care of, or not take care, but be in the business of thinking about, okay, what new regulation is coming out in Europe, right? they would rather have companies who are certified in each of these verticals and partner with them once with these certifications, so that monkey is off their back.
So first of all, thank you very much for that very interesting proposal, Vamsi. So we are all in the collaboration side. And I think my presentation after you will kind of try to open that gate. What we want to propose in that collaboration space is to think about the wallet aspect, not solely on the payment side, because this is something, it's just like one of the specific transactions that need to happen when doing business out there, right? But there are more interactions which also require security, reliability, and trust. And this is when we work with our clients on the OEM side, so premium automakers, where we build exactly something like that. Their main concern is that a bad experience or something which went wrong basically in the commerce falls back to them, right? So they need to get like that ultimate control over the interaction where they can safeguard business they want to have from the one that they don't want to have, right? And well, that is like authentication on payments is the one thing, or authorization on payments is one thing. But on the other side, I think we can also open that scope for the wallet to other interactions, like for example, as onboarding merchants, like where you can kind of try to see your partner on the merchant side also as a player in the ecosystem. This is something where I'd want to definitely have a look at with you guys when we can, or if we can kind of expand it there. But unless than that, it's a beautiful proposal, so to say. So thank you very much.
Yeah, customer service is one of those kind of big areas where, in the case of a wallet, the OEM is not actually the merchant of record at that point. Then the partner, the service provider, the QSR or whoever that might be. So what is the transition point? What are the existing entry points for customer service to then get picked up? How do you actually do that? I mean, it's a big part of why this is a partnership with OEMs and service providers. It's not a you are serving us kind of relationship, because you do want that seamless handoff between OEM and service provider, and likely that service provider is in the business of serving their customers as well. And if there is an order being handled and it's best handled by the merchant themselves. So what are those pathways, right? It's not just payment done, transaction complete, see you later. We've seen this in parking at times, where you need to be able to extend the parking duration, or there is a dispute around whether a parking lot might be full. And so how do you actually then begin to manage that? And so those handoff points in which you can translate the order or provide order number even, that it might be even as simple as that, so that then the natural flows of customer service with that service provider can get picked up. And so those are important things. We want to be able to build the reference solution so we can kind of get into some of those details, so OEMs can begin to take the reference application, build these things, then understand what else and who else needs to get involved in kind of developing a wallet for the car.
Yeah. To add on to that, again, there are multiple trade-offs over here. So if you look at the wallet, there is an in-car approach or on-device approach and in the cloud approach, right? And there are various OEMs that are taking one versus the other. So I think as a part of this proposal, we want to look at how will an wallet in the cloud look like. That's at least the approach that we want to propose over here and start with and look at what the trade-offs are. Thoughts, questions, anyone else?
Great. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll provide this presentation on the in-vehicle payments SIG wiki on the COVESA page, and then we'll also try to follow up with other details as we firm them up.
Maybe a closing comment. This
we launched the group, but it's all been about thought leadership and trying to understand what the challenges are and how the ecosystem could collaborate and, in vehicle payment perspective. And as we started to talk to OEMs and tier ones, one of the common areas that kept coming up in projects internally that they were working on and challenges that they were struggling with, which is what COVESA is mostly known for, and what our members bring to us as their challenges, where in a collaborative environment they can do more and have more validation and input and thoughts, and help create, API specifications, proof of concepts, or whatever it is, has been around the vehicle as a wall. And I think this is a starting point. So if anyone in the room or others that you work with are having challenges in this space, or would like to be thought leadership, contribute, validate to this process, we'd like to have you involved. And it's not only really this one project, because this specific area touches on other things that you may be involved in with COVESA or soon to be involved in. We just launched a vehicle experience content and entertainment group that's going to be led by Stellantis as an OEM, and I looked at our membership, and about 45% of our members have a focus in that area. There is a very important vehicle experience component eventually, that comes from the stuff that will be done, with the wallet, especially as you're looking at in-vehicle payment, from beginning to end and concept. And then laying on top of that is all the work that you've probably, seen in other, or heard while you've been here this week around vehicle signaling specification and the opportunity to integrate those standardizations around some